You've almost certainly seen the clip. A massive killer whale, one of the most powerful predators on the entire planet, floating at the edge of its pool, happily crunching away on a big chunk of ice like a kid working through a snow cone on a hot day. And your reaction, like everyone's reaction, was probably something along the lines of, "Aw, that's kind of adorable. It looks like a treat. It looks like a little snack, a fun enrichment toy, a nice cold cube for a good boy who finished his show. And I hate to be the one to do this to you, but I have to tell you why that clip is actually a lot sadder than it looks. Because once you understand the real reason captive orcas eat ice, you are never going to be able to watch that video the same way again. I'm sorry in advance." So let's start with the fact that flips this whole thing on its head, the detail that turns all into O. Wild orcas do not eat ice, not ever. Out in the open ocean, a killer whale never seeks out ice as food, never hunts for it, never chews on it for fun. It's just not a thing they do. And here's the kicker. Ice has absolutely zero nutritional value. No calories, no protein, no nutrients, nothing. It's frozen water. So we've got an animal that, in the wild, has zero interest in ice, suddenly, in captivity, chewing on it constantly. And it's seeking out a substance that gives it nothing to eat. When an animal starts obsessively doing something it would never do in nature, and there's no food reward involved, that's not a cute quirk. That's a clue. It's a symptom. And the thing it's a symptom of is the whole story, because it turns out that ice in a tank is quietly solving several different problems all at once, problems that captivity itself created. So let's go through them, because each one tells you something about what life in a concrete pool is actually like for an animal built for the entire ocean. The first reason, and this is the big one, the real answer to the question in the title, is hydration. And to understand why this is such a big deal, you need to know one genuinely surprising fact about orcas. They don't drink water. Think about that for a second. They live their entire lives surrounded by water, an infinite ocean of it in every direction, and they basically never drink any of it. And the reason is that the ocean is saltwater, and just like us, an orca can't survive on saltwater. Drinking it would actually dehydrate them further. So how does a whale that never drinks stay hydrated? The answer is beautifully simple. They get almost all of their water from their food. When a wild orca eats a fish or a seal, that prey is full of moisture, full of fresh water locked inside its flesh, and the orca absorbs all of it. Their meals are their drinks. Every hunt is basically lunch and a glass of water at the same time. Their entire body chemistry is set up around this arrangement, wringing every last drop of usable water out of whatever they catch. It's an elegant system that has worked perfectly for millions of years, right up until the moment we changed what's on the menu. Now here's where captivity breaks that system. Captive orcas aren't out catching fresh, live, juicy prey. They're being hand-fed a diet of frozen fish. And the process of freezing a fish and then thawing it out does something that seems small but really isn't. It drains a lot of the water out of the fish. So the meal that's supposed to be keeping the orca hydrated is now noticeably drier than the real thing. And the result, which has actually been documented, is that captive orcas frequently suffer from chronic dehydration. This isn't a fringe theory or an activist talking point. It's a known enough issue that many facilities deliberately add gelatin to the fish they feed their orcas, basically packing extra water into the meal specifically to try and keep the animals hydrated. When you have to add jelly to the food to keep the animal from drying out, that tells you the food is already failing at one of its main jobs. So now put yourself in the orca's position. You're a little dehydrated more or less all the time because your meals are drier than they should be, and there, floating in your pool, is a big chunk of frozen fresh water. So you chew it, you crunch it up and swallow it, and your body absorbs that fresh water in a form it actually accepts. The orca figured out on its own that ice is a drink. That adorable clip of a whale munching ice, a big part of what you're watching is a thirsty animal getting itself a glass of water the only way it can. Suddenly it's a little less cute, isn't it? But hydration is only the first reason, so let's move to the second one, which is temperature. Orcas are built for cold water. That's their whole world. And in the wild, they have this incredible built-in way of managing their body temperature because the ocean isn't all the same temperature. The surface might be warm, but go down a few hundred feet and it gets cold fast. So when a wild orca gets too warm, Especially during the intense effort of a long hunt, it can simply dive down into the cooler, deeper water and cool right off. The ocean gives them a temperature dial and they can turn it whenever they want. A tank does not have a deep end full of cold water. A tank is essentially one single temperature all the way through, usually somewhere near the warm surface temperature. There's no cold layer to dive into, no depths to escape to. And a lot of these marine parks are located in warm, sunny places, tourist destinations where the water in an open air pool can heat up more than you'd think. So now you've got a cold water animal stuck in relatively warm water with absolutely no way to cool itself down the way it was designed to. And once again, ice steps in to fill the gap. Chewing on ice and holding it in its mouth lowers the orca's body temperature just a little, giving it some relief. And trainers have actually been noted to hand out more ice during heat waves or after high energy activity, precisely because the animals need help cooling down. So part of what that ice is doing is acting as a tiny, crunchy makeshift replacement for the entire cold, deep ocean the orca no longer has access to. And now we come to the third reason, which is the one that honestly hits the hardest, because it's about boredom. And I need to set this up properly, because to really get it, you have to understand just how staggering the gap is between what an orca's life is supposed to be and what a tank actually offers. In the wild, an orca is one of the most active animals on the planet. It travels enormous distances every single day. We're talking potentially over 100 kilometers, and it spends the vast majority of its waking hours hunting, socializing, exploring, and problem solving across an endless, ever-changing ocean. Its mind is built for a world of constant novelty and challenge. Now take that animal, that big, brilliant, restless mind, and put it in a smooth concrete pool. There's nothing to explore because it's mapped the entire thing in about 5 minutes. There's nothing to hunt because dead fish just get dropped into its mouth. There's nothing new ever. Just the same featureless walls day after day after day. To give you a sense of the scale of that gap, some estimates suggest the amount of ocean a wild orca moves through in a single day is thousands of times larger than the biggest tank ever built. We took an animal whose natural range is basically the ocean and gave it something closer to a bathtub, and a brain built for the whole ocean does not cope well with that kind of emptiness. It leads to profound, crushing boredom, and that boredom shows up in the animal's behavior in ways that are genuinely hard to watch. Captive orcas develop what scientists call stereotypic behaviors, which are repetitive, pointless actions that signal serious psychological distress. Things like floating motionless at the surface for hours, or swimming the same circle over and over, or bobbing their head, or, and here's the important one, chewing on the concrete walls and the steel gates of their enclosure. It's the same reason you might see the collapsed, flopped over dorsal fin that so many captive orcas have and almost no wild ones do. The whole body and the whole mind slowly bends out of shape when the world it was built for gets shrunk down to a pool. That last one, the chewing, is where the ice comes back in, and it comes with a genuinely grim consequence. Because when a bored orca gnaws on concrete and metal, it absolutely destroys its teeth. And this isn't rare. In studies of captive orcas, a majority of the animals were found to have fractured, broken teeth, with many suffering severe damage worn right down. The damage is so common and so serious that a lot of captive orcas have to undergo a dental procedure where their teeth are essentially drilled out and then flushed and cleaned by hand every single day for the rest of their lives just to manage the infections. So the boredom is literally breaking their teeth, and ice in this context becomes a safer thing to chew. Give the bored, frustrated animal a big chunk of ice to gnaw on, and maybe it chews a little less on the concrete that's wrecking its mouth. So part of that fun ice treat is actually damage control, a small attempt to redirect a desperate, boredom-driven chewing habit away from the surfaces that are slowly destroying the animal's teeth. So let's put the whole picture together, because when you line up all three reasons, the clip transforms completely. That orca happily crunching ice is getting fresh water it's missing because of its dehydrating diet. It's cooling down a body it can no longer cool the natural way because there's no deep ocean to dive into. and it's chewing something safe to fend off a boredom so severe it would otherwise be grinding its teeth to pieces on concrete. Hydration, temperature, and boredom. 3 problems. 1 cube of ice, all 3 of them problems that only exist because the animal is in a tank in the first place. And that's really the heart of it. None of these are problems a wild orca ever has to deal with. A wild orca drinks through its food, cools off in the deep, and never runs out of things to do across thousands of miles of open water. The ice isn't giving the captive orca some fun bonus it wouldn't otherwise have. The ice is a patch. It's a small, crunchy, well-meaning attempt to plug 3 different holes that Captivity punched into this animal's life all at once. It's the tank trying to apologize to the ocean. Now, I want to be fair here, because the people who actually work with these animals day to day, the trainers, very often love them deeply, and giving ice is genuinely one of the kinder, smarter things they can do within the situation they're in. Nobody's tossing an orca ice to be cruel. Quite the opposite. It's a real, thoughtful tool for improving the animal's day. But the fact that this tool is necessary at all, the fact that you have to hand a killer whale a block of ice to help it stay hydrated, cool, and sane, kind of says everything, doesn't it? You don't need to give a wild orca ice. The wild orca has an entire ocean. It has everything it needs built right into the world it evolved for. So the next time that clip crosses your feed, the killer whale crunching happily on its ice and everyone in the comments is going, "Aw," you'll be the one who actually knows what you're looking at. You're not watching a treat. You're watching one of the most magnificent, wide-ranging, intelligent predators on Earth. An animal designed for an entire ocean, making do with a single frozen cube that's quietly standing in for its water, its cold deep, and its endless world of things to do. It's not that the ice is bad, it's that the ice has to exist at all, and once you see it that way, you can't unsee it. And if you want to understand just how much that captive orca is missing, if you want to see what these animals are actually capable of when they have the whole ocean to themselves, and check out this video right here on the wild orca, the real one, the apex predator in its true home. Trust me, it'll make you look at that ice cube completely differently.